This video is powered by the pros at Pascal Air Plumbing and Electric. Arkansas owned, Arkansas operated. GoPascal.com.
Tom, good morning, man. Appreciate you jumping in with us as always. I know Arkansas didn't have a successful outing in Nick Smith's return, and I want to ask, Devoe and Ricky had their worst game offensively in a while. Devoe really had his worst game overall in a while. Was that a byproduct of them trying to figure out their new role with Nick coming back, you think?
Hey, good morning, Ty. Thanks for the intro, and happy Valentine's Day, everybody. I don't know if you can describe it to that. Devoe had a track record all the way up to the start of conference play. He wasn't shooting that well, particularly from three, and then he caught fire. So I think there probably was a readjustment game that was going to happen along the way, and it just so happened it came against a team that, when you looked at what they were doing defensively, and then I listened to the post game from Chris Jans, they just wanted to clog the paint. And when Arkansas's guards drove, it's almost like they met some double teaming, and those drop offs that they were giving to the bigs just weren't available as much that had been so readily available in the Kentucky game. So I think maybe a correction game was in the works along the way for Devoe. It maybe counsel as well, but Mississippi State just came in here ready. It was almost like the way Arkansas went into the Kentucky game. We're not going to, we're going to keep doing what we do, and they just never suffered a big drop off. And like Jan said, they were just basically hanging on at the end, and they did. If the game had gone another 5 minutes, who knows? Maybe Arkansas would have come back and won it. But it was a deflator for sure. I mean, second home loss. So they got work to do to get Nick Smith ingrained in the system and get back chugging.
So you mentioned the drop coverage Mississippi State was playing. If Makai and Mikal really aren't shooting that elbow jumper and the team's not hitting threes, how do you counter that, Tom?
Yeah, that's a great question, and that's why Eric Musselman and his staff are good at what they do. And as he said, get back into the lab because, for a while it was zones. And then Arkansas, you could see their zone offense was picking up. They got it, you're supposed to get it into the gaps in the post and then, deal from there, have cutters going down the baselines. And Jordan Walsh had a bunch of dunks, and there was those drop-offs I mentioned that started making the zone harder to do against Arkansas. And now this. And so you can bet Texas A&M will have – you saw what they did against LSU with a bunch of trapping stuff, sometimes before midcourt, sometimes right after. So Anthony Black and the ball handlers have to be aware of that. But you got to shoot better from distance to start with, and if you do that, then you can draw things out. But I think the bigs have to be a little bit more offensively astute, both of the Mitchells and Jalen Graham if he gets minutes in this game. But I expect they're going to have a better overall performance against A&M than they did against Mississippi State.
Arkansas won that game back the last day of January, 81-70, one of the rare times you allow 70 and win the game. But Arkansas was hot. They got a lot of points inside, 38 of their 81, and shot 50% from the floor. I look at the box score here, and you had Coleman, Taylor, and Radford all score 17 or more. Seems like defensively, Arkansas would like to clamp down on the road, and that's the one thing that'll travel, Tom, is defense.
Yeah, and they're going to have to play really good defense because Bradford and Taylor are really good at penetrating, and they have decent three-point shots. I'll tell you, the key issue in the game against Kentucky that I was worried about was their offensive rebounding, and that's in this game as well. They've got to keep A&M from killing them on their offensive glass. And so I'm sure that's going to be one of the stressed points of this game. And, a lot of times it just comes down to who has a better shooting night. And Arkansas basically couldn't be stopped at Kentucky. If A&M shoots the ball well, then they're going to be hard to beat tomorrow night. And if Arkansas shoots the ball well, they're going to give themselves a chance to win this game.
Yeah. So would a win on the road at A&M be – how would you counter that with a loss at home to Mississippi State? Would a win on the road at A&M count for more since it's a road win against a team with a higher net ranking, or would it just neutralize a home loss in your opinion?
Well, it neutralizes it just from the standpoint of where you are in the standings. But I think when it comes to inputting that data into the computers, I think getting a road win, and, I did a little note on this. A&M, I think, is about 33 in the net ranking, so that would be a quad win on the road, a quad one win on the road. And I just don't understand how some of the guys who put together the brackets don't have A&M like more highly regarded. I know they were 7-6 or whatever that was, 6-5 in pre-conference, and they had some eye-opening losses like to Wofford. But man, their last 12 to 15 games, they have looked really strong. And I moved them up to number 2 in our conference power rankings. Very, very tough win. But I think you'd get a slightly bigger benefit from this road win than you did from the home loss.
And I agree on that, Tom. And on the subject of where Arkansas could be moving forward in their next 6 games, what do you think they have to finish for them to confidently be in the tournament come Selection Sunday?
Well, I'm pretty sure hold and serve at home. So if you go 3-3, if you beat Florida and Georgia and Kentucky, I think you're looking at a pretty good shot, simply because playing Alabama on the road and Tennessee on the road is going to improve it's going to keep your net ranking up there pretty good. And because they had a good pre-comp, their strength of schedule is way up there. I think that puts them in good shape. If you get a road win at either A&M or Tennessee or Bama, then I think it clinches it for you. I mean, as long as you don't just fall apart otherwise. So I don't anticipate that happening. But also, it's going to be hard to get Arkansas off those middle lines, in my view, 7 to 10 or 11, and which means, you might have a tough opening round game and certainly a tough second round game. But if they can get Nick Smith back in the fold, in the flow, and kind of rebuild to where they were, they're going to be a difficult out in the NCAAs, just like they've been the last 2 years.
Yeah.
Tom, you mentioned Alabama. If they beat Tennessee and Knoxville tomorrow night, did they lose a conference game in their remaining 5?
Well, I was looking at that yesterday as well. They finished at A&M. That's going to be a really tough game for them, particularly if they are 17-0, or 17-0, and feel that pressure. You know what I mean? Like to complete a perfect conference season. And I'm not sure when the last time that was. Maybe Kentucky. I need to research that for my next SEC report. But I don't know. I just get the sense that somebody somewhere, Oklahoma, when they got down in that game, they didn't shoot well from 3. They lost by 24 points or whatever. So I just feel like there's going to be one little slip along the way. Tennessee certainly is going to be a tough deal, and then A&M will be as well. I'm not sure the other. Auburn comes up there. That'll be a tough game as well.
Yeah, because you look at the league standings with Bama at 12-0 and Texas A&M at 10-2. I mean, a lot of things are going to have to go wrong for A&M not to finish second in this league. A lot will have to go right for Tennessee. There's a greater likelihood of Tennessee finishing 5th than 2nd, I'd say, at this point, with their 8-4 record.
Well, I haven't looked at it that deeply, but yeah, Tennessee's got tough games left, obviously, with Arkansas, Bama, and so on.
They get Bama and Kentucky this week. So
wow, yeah, tough week. But I got to tell you, man, if Arkansas had just beaten Mississippi State, because you guys asked me about that last time, is there a better likelihood that they finish or is there a likelihood they finish in the top 4? If they had beat Mississippi State, they would be in, a tie for the top 4. And that's why I said I thought it was going to be difficult to do that. But I did not anticipate losing to Mississippi State. Even though I thought it was going to be a tough game, I thought they'd win it.
Yeah, because, I think even though Tennessee's 4 games back in the conference, 2 games back a second, Bama and Tennessee are locks for the tournament. If this is a, say, 6-bid league, I think Arkansas is probably the leader because of their net ranking at 23 amongst that next group of teams. But teams 3 through 6, you might say, for NCAA tournament spots, it's going to be wild and woolly this last third of conference play.
Yeah, it really is. And there's some teams that you didn't expect to be there that are ahead of Arkansas that they're going to have to battle past. Kentucky's one of them, and so is Missouri. And so
Auburn.
They need to, and Auburn, and they lost on the road there. So it's you want to get a really high quality win down the stretch if you're Arkansas. I don't think the tournament, this committee really looks at how many teams from a conference But you don't want to be like the 7th or 8th team from the SEC when, in terms of resume comparisons.
I think people are expecting, as we're talking with Tom Murphy, Arkansas Democrat-Gazette, Whole Hog Sports here, that Nick Smith gets back in a rhythm. Tom, how long are you expecting it to take for him to get back into what we expect out of Nick Smith Jr.?
If we had seen more of him, or if I'd seen more of him in high school, I could give you a more, thoughtful answer. If you examine what he did the other night, it looked like he played real feisty defense. I think he had a rush three-pointer maybe at one point. Of course, if it had gone down, we'd have just called it a great shot. But it just seemed like maybe there was one three-pointer that he jacked up pretty quick. In his game, he's got a lot of mid-range stuff. He's got a really nice offensive array. I expect he'll be much better tomorrow night. And then hopefully by the weekend, the Florida game, he's fully back in this, and they start getting a feel for what the rotation is going to look like.
Tom, I want to ask you about baseball before we go, and we'll do a little bit more of this on Thursday. But as Arkansas basketball is still in the thick of things, the baseball team gets rolling in Globe Live. The starting pitching, I know with Jackson Wiggins, we talked about this a little bit last week with the torn UCL. Do you have a guy that you expect to be the Friday night starter within a few weeks for this baseball program?
Well, yeah, this coming week, right? So I just think Hagen Smith is going to get that opportunity out of the gate. The way they paced him during these scrimmages, and he just seems to have the first weekend thing. And of course, if need be, during the course of the year, Dave Van Horn and Matt Hobbs can move guys around. But it looks to me like him, and then Will McIntyre is going to be in the starting rotation. And then it looks like Hunter Holland, the left-hander, maybe you go left, right, left to start the year and see how that rolls. And obviously we know from past experiences that if they need to make a change, you think about last year, McIntyre came on kind of late, got in the rotation. Guys like Zach Morris's responsibilities moved around a little. And who's going to close games? All very interesting to see start developing for this team.
Yeah, and we know the trouble that left-handed pitching has caused Arkansas at the plate. So if what you're saying there is pans out, and you had two lefties in your 3-game rotation, you hope a similar result for your opponents this year with maybe more predominant left-hand pitching.
That's right, and it just seems to me the teams that have quality left-handed starting pitching, you just see that the stats for it just seems like it goes a little better for you if they're real quality left-handers. So that's always a plus for you. And then, Hagen Smith, he got out to a great start last year, and then, he lost game 2. I think he got the start against Stanford, and then he planed out a little bit. But they did a great job with him kind of late in the year, giving him a little bit of a rest. And then when it came to the postseason, he wasn't a starter all the time. He moved in and out, but I thought he was really good for him. So I think he's a kid who probably physically is now ready for a few more innings because he certainly comes with great pedigree.
Stovall comes to mind. Who are some of the hot bats you expect to see maybe this weekend, or at least lead the offensive charge from the plate for this team?
Yeah, well, Dave Van Horn said we're going to see the best version of Brady Slavin, so we know he's a power bat. Hopefully the average is a little higher and the strikeouts are down some. They like Josenberger in the leadoff spot. Caleb Cali, I think he could be the third baseman. I don't know. It's just going to be – and Jace Borfin ought to have a better year. So the cool thing about Dave Van Horn teams is they recruited well. They run a good system, and you're just going to see guys rise and fall. And you're going to see maybe there's a dude like Braden Webb out there who doesn't have a high average but hits home runs and drives in runs and gets on base, causes you problems. So I think it's just going to be fun to watch the journey.
BetOnline remains your number one source for all your sports betting this season. Everything from the NFL and bowl season to esports. You'll find the latest odds, team matchup info, player news, and game trends at BetOnline. BetOnline features live betting, free contests, and live scores for almost any sport or game imaginable. We're the fastest and easiest way to bet on all your favorite leagues and events. Head to betonline.ag to join and receive a 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Make sure to use the promo code BELIEVE to receive your rewards. That's BLEAV. Bet online, where the game starts.